One important part of what I would consider to be like your messaging should be an understanding of how people consume that very thing. There are certain offerings that can be consumed over and over and over again. So, an example would be a um, a restaurant, right? A restaurant, when you go and you patronize a restaurant, you're able to come back to that restaurant because the desire to fulfill that need will come back within a relatively short period of time. So you go to a restaurant, you patronize the restaurant, and then the aim to get you back is high. You know, like, man, like I want to get you back here next week. Maybe not tomorrow, but next week, right? I bring that up because there are some businesses where that sale doesn't have a recurrence to it all the time. So, like, let's say I go to the car dealership right now and I buy a car. If I purchase a car, if I purchase a car, I mean, it really doesn't matter how good of a salesperson you are. You're not going to get me to buy another car that day. You're not going to get me to buy another car that week. You're not going to get me to buy another car probably that year, right? Like that's just not the industry you're in. But conversely, let's say you are, and similar to a restaurant, let's say you're a business coach like me, right? If I help someone generate an extra, $2,000 in their monthly recurring revenue, I can come back to them next month and say, hey, you want to make more? And then I'll come back the next month, do you want to make more? And then I'll come back the next month, do you want to make more, right? If you sell insurance, people don't buy insurance over and over again. That pattern of consumption isn't there. There's just certain offerings you can't sell over and over. So the reason I bring this up is because your messaging needs to incorporate that understanding so that when you get people to connect with it, you can align how they connect with it with the velocity that you want them to move through that sales pipeline with. I mean, there's definitely a lot of layers to this conversation. I didn't plan out what I was even going to say, but overall the consideration here is that if you're going to plan how you're going to approach sales, you have to understand when people consume your stuff, you got to understand how they consume it. And another element to that I won't get into here, but when you look at the value of a customer or a client, you have to consider that there's something known as a lifetime value to that customer or client. And that lifetime value incorporates multiple purchases, not just one. So while one company may look at a customer and say, oh, well, the lifetime value of that particular customer is this. In their minds, they may know that lifetime value is based off of one or two purchases. But then when you look at the lifetime value of a customer as it pertains to, let's say, in my earlier example, a restaurant, well, a restaurant, if somebody comes and spends $100 today, I would like to attempt to bring them back 5 more times before the end of the year. So my target lifetime value for that customer isn't $100, it's 5. So my marketing approach is gonna align with that. So much more to talk through on this topic, but I'll